I'm identifying you. Allow this one. No, allow this one. Are you live?
Yes. Now hold it.
Ingisha. Uiona kwa takatifu. Council, Chad Mulandepo. Just wait. I want council to speak. You and Honorable Makebi Zulu. Just wait. Yeah.
Media, there is no media.
You are live. You are all live.
Okay.
Yeah. Honorable Makebi Zulu, please come.
Okay. Honorable Makebi, you are in the media.
Honorable Makebi Zulu, please take the stand.
Okay.
Is everyone ready? Quickly tell me when you are all ready. Honorable Makebi Zulu, you can tell us what has happened.
All right, we have discussed with the police and we've made it abundantly clear that the First Lady is a victim in all this. And a statement has been given, giving her side of the story, which is what we expected right from the start. We had expected that the police would act in a very civil manner, allow her to come, give a statement, then make decisions that they had to make later on. But they had come up with a decision already, invaded the premises, did whatever they did at the premises, illegally so, and later poured her over. And now we have made it abundantly clear, and we hope they've understood that she's a victim in all this. Unless they decide to be malicious, we don't see them pursuing the course that they did pursue this morning.
So the police have issued a statement where they are alleging that they're investigating her for theft of motor vehicle and a property with certificate of title. Please speak to that.
We raised that with the police because we think Mr. Mwale, the spokesperson for the police, prematurely made a statement. If he was indeed the PR officer that he ought to be, he ought to have waited until now when a statement has been given. To suggest that Madam First Lady is guilty or indeed stole a motor vehicle is very insulting, as it were. It's very insulting, especially that the warrant itself was not even executed. We handed over the so-called one exactly wanted, and we've explained the circumstances under which it came into her possession without anything to do with theft. So that is the position, and we are glad that we eventually they were reasonable.
Okay, Honorable Yui wants to pass. May we just move? Sorry, Council. Let's give our CID director a path.
No.
No, sorry.
What is the position from the police side?
Well, we've given them our position. Whatever they'll decide hereafter, we're yet to know.
So they did not say, what did they say during the...
According to them, there was a report that came to them, and they were carrying out investigations. That's what they told us, that they are carrying out investigations. And in carrying out investigations, what we expected is a mayor call out, come and explain, there is this complaint, what do you have to say to it, before taking any drastic steps, as they did this morning.
You said the matter is fully settled?
Well,
what is the next course of action?
Well, that's for them to decide what the next course of action, but you know this, our client is a victim.
Okay.
So at the point that they were letting former First Lady go, what was the discussion?
Well, they are happy that we gave a statement, and they will continue with investigations, and they'll keep in touch with us the lawyers, which is what they should have been doing in the first place. Get in touch with us the lawyers, and we're going to make her available.
Did they say what the complainant did in order for the property to be in possession of former First Lady? Because according to the statement, it didn't state.
They didn't say. It's for that reason that we said Mr. D. Mwale prematurely gave a statement without considering what the statement on our part was. And we can only assume that that was intended to appease the public, or at least give a sensational story to the public. We expected him as a professional to have waited until now before he could have given that statement.
Thank you, Council. I'll release Honorable Makebi Zulu, then I'll allow Honorable Brian Mundugile, Honorable GBM, or any of our political leaders to speak to the events of today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a long day. We've all been out the whole day. And I think like every other citizen, this is a very sad day, especially in our constitutional democracy. What we are seeing is that the New Dawn government has continued with its constitutional breaches, breaking the law with impunity. We expect the former president to be treated with some respect and decorum. What we saw today was totally unnecessary. You can imagine that we came here with the former First Lady. They've had a very cordial discussion with an interview, recorded a statement, and that is it. So had they done this in the first place, all this drama would not have been necessary. But like we've said before, we must look at this holistically. There's evidence of something more. Certainly, I don't think the manpower, the equipment that was released was entirely for getting that Ranex vehicle or whatever they were looking for. I mean, this is evidence of something more. As a discerning citizen, each person must begin to question what exactly is the motive behind this. One, we are very suspicious that they would like to embarrass the former head of state. And secondly, they would want to intimidate citizens that are around the former president. I want to make a quote to citizens that for our constitutional democracy to continue, those of us that were there in 1991 when we were transitioning from the one-party state to multi-party state, know the effort and the fight that we put up. My call to the Zambian people now is that let's remain alert and ensure that we don't allow the New Dawn government to breach and abuse the law with impunity. We must stand up and speak, even if the law that is being breached is against a person that you don't like. For the sake of our democracy, let's ensure that we stand up and defend our constitution.
One thing, Honorable, what's the condition of the car? Has it been given back to the First Lady or it has been kept by the police?
Well, first of all, the vehicle is here. This must be the vehicle that is reversing in the background. Yeah. The First Lady, the former First Lady, is just a victim in this whole case. Yeah. And yet, the police spokesperson went all out to try to paint a picture as if the former First Lady had committed a crime. This is unfortunate. We are dealing with the First family. And with the new technology, we all must be aware that the entire world is watching us. Can you imagine that we spent this day offering solidarity to the former president against abuses by the state, the same state that's supposed to be protecting the head of state. So it is indeed a very big source of concern, especially that at the moment the Zambians are looking at government resolving the many economic challenges that we're facing. Mm-hmm. Our focus must be on debt restructuring going forward. We must present a picture that fosters hope for this country. But what we're getting right now leaves much to be desired.
Thank you very much. Honorable Tsanga and Honorable GBM, then we can wind up.
Right. Thank you very much. I think it's been a long day for us.
But this is the famous Ranex.
Yes, it is. Please proceed.
Yeah, it's been a very long day for us actually, and it's a very, very sad day at the same time. You see, this is normally the act of a failed government. I call this a failed government because they have failed to deliver what they promised the Zambian people they will do for them. Now, in turn, because Zambians are up in arms, in turn now, what they have decided to do is to want to embarrass the First family. How could they accuse the First Lady, the former First Lady, that she has stolen motor vehicles, and yet the person who had actually stolen her money is the one now who seems to be a victor in this case, which is very sad. We know it's politics at play. We know that. Zambians, I think we should rise to the occasion and stop this kind of abuse of power. The new Dawn government has had promised Zambian people that there will be law and order in this country. But look at what is happening now. Since 04 this morning, our former president has been up and the former first lady. And yet this matter would have been resolved amicably without even causing any kind of nonsense which have caused in this country. Because everyone now wants to know what is happening or knows what is happening in this country. They should not think that they are clever, the UPND government. They should know that they are abusing their power. But power, let me tell you, has a timeline. They should ask us, if I may quote what the former president said, he said, you should ask me, power has a limit. Power has a lifespan. Today you may have the power to abuse your fellow citizens, and tomorrow you will not have it. So what next? So my appeal to this government is that I think stop this rot of intimidating us. You want to intimidate us so that we go silent as the opposition. There is no ruling party, there is no government which has no opposition at all. You need opposition for purposes of the checks and balances. And basically this is what we're going to do, and we shall continue doing that.
Thank you, thank you. Honorable Sanga, it appears for us that we're inside. This is a civil matter. It started a criminal matter, but it's a civil matter and settled by an agreement. How can you then justify literally a battalion of the police and the heavy-duty equipment that was brought out?
Well,
maybe speak to that.
Thank you very
and
much.
To the case.
It's very easy to see who the target in all this scheme is. Like you rightly pointed out, when people differ over something and they resolve away from the principles of the police that they're going to deal with this matter as a civil matter, and promises are exchanged. You know, the person who's owed money says, okay, just let me have your shuttles until the time that you give me money. It closes the matter right there. I am beginning to think that even these so-called complainants were actually identified by the police or the government and brought to the police to file fake complaints against the first lady. You could see how embarrassing it was on the faces of some of the police officers when they were now beginning to know the real story of what transpired. This is a scenario where you treat a victim of a crime as if he's the one who actually is causing the crime. I'm beginning to wonder what kind of cases are going to be preferred against the former first lady, having regard to the explanation that is given to the police. But I would just like to echo the condemnation that my friends have given to the government. Dr. Edgar Lungu is not an ordinary citizen. Mrs. Lungu herself, by extension, is not an ordinary citizen. The place where they live is a place where a person who has been conferred with constitutional immunity resides. And if you have to handle any issues concerning that individual, you must not walk away from the provisions of a constitution that requires you to ensure that you comply with matters of immunity. But this was all intended to embarrass the president, to embarrass the first lady, but also to just transfer the narrative from the real issues that are happening on the ground. We know that Zambia is facing a lot of economic challenges, and Zambians are looking up to this government to ensure that they deliver on the promises that they made. This all is intended to hoodwink the Zambians to begin to talk about issues that are private issues that should never even have come to the public in the first place. But because they want to ensure that we all become focused on how to defend the former president, which is our obligation as members of parliament to do, which is our obligation as members of Patriotic Front to do, we are now not going to be able to provide these checks and balances in a much more objective way, because we have to spend all this time trying to figure out how to defend this individual. But you see, we need to entrench a culture of constitutionalism in this country. When somebody has served your nation for 7 years and he retires and he goes to stay, he must be given the latitude to enjoy his retirement. But this idea of every day waking up to a new experience which is negative on the first family is what is going to cause the commotion we have been seeing. Today we actually have to control our crowds. And this is what we keep telling our colleagues in the UPND. It is becoming very difficult for us as members of Patriotic Front, at least as leaders, to control these crowds that you are seeing, which are standing up, thinking the president is being victimized for such a long time and they need to stand up to the defense. Some of them are even calling us weak because they're saying the leadership of Patriotic Front is weak. But it's because we want to ensure that the rule of law, which has been very much preached about by the president, is practiced not only by us, but even by the president himself and by everybody else, by extension, the police themselves, the ministers, and everybody who is concerned to ensure that the country remains peaceful. This is a prerequisite to chaos. If you are going to handle affairs of the public and of important people in such a fashion, it's a prerequisite to chaos. What we were expecting is that the person who even came and reported this matter to the police, if at all they reported, they should have been the ones who should have been the ones that the police must be pursuing. It is very clear that they stole money from the first lady. It is very clear that they did something which was criminal against the first lady. And for the police spokesperson to go out and issue a statement prematurely, this is the chaos that you have now seen happening in the afternoons. What are the police going to say now that the true picture has been presented to them? But the First Lady, we expect the police to be objective. We expect the police spokesperson tomorrow to issue a statement that captures even what the First Lady has said, including classifying it as a victimization of the first family. Because this is really what it is. You can't even move away from it.
Thank you. Thank you, Fabio. Thank you very much.
Randy, the team level.
But the car,
Well, she's just they came and left the chair. Of course, they had to see what happened. They issued that statement without taking that back. That statement was suggesting that the vehicle was no, it doesn't be kept. It's part of the investigation. But it's a manner in which hey!
Still live. Go back with my equipment.
My name is
Let's go before the light. You tell me when you are live. Yeah, they didn't allow you. Quickly, when you are ready, we need to go. We're not here, and the police. Come. Where do you want him to stand? The baby here.
you can't see me.
Pero.
Hey, Vita! Vita, man!
We went this side.
Boss, what do we do? Is it safe to go home now?
Yes, you can go.
I'm the only lawyer here. I'm not doing politics.
Let's go. I take away just now.
That's it.
Yeah,